Property Love, where we discuss all property matters within our country and the rest of the continent, where we cover all real estate matters. So yeah, thanks again for joining us. And I hope everybody's safe with their family wherever they are. I hope that everybody's adhering to the social distancing rules and all the lockdown rules. And we are actually doing our bit by today. We're having our episode online, so we are recording this online. And yeah, so we hope that everybody's safe. So today's segment is a career segment where we talk about different careers within the industry, and in particular today we talk about journalism. So we will try and upload at least 2 videos a month where we talk about different types of careers. So yeah, so just to so please don't forget to subscribe, and thanks again for joining us. And so just to kick off, today we're in conversation with an award-winning journalist, buddy of mine, someone that's passionate about property just like myself, Mr. Ray Mahlaka. So Ray is an award-winning journalist, but currently a freelancer, and he has done a lot of work within the property industry, covering a whole lot of different topics. And he has done work with publications such as South African Commercial Property News, the Mwaki by Sideweb, TFM, and just to mention a few. So we'll be in conversation with Ray, just unpacking the journalism within the industry. So Ray, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Sure, thank you so much for having me, Teko. I mean, that CV shocked me because you tend to forget what you do, hey?
Especially when you do a lot, hey?
Especially when you do a lot. But I must say, that award-winning journalist title, sure. I don't know, for some reason it makes me cringe, hey? Because it feels like now everybody will be watching you and watching if you don't drop the ball. So that's what makes me nervous about the title, hey?
It is what it is. Hey, if the shoe fits, you are an award-winning journalist after all. So if the shoe fits, hey, wear it. You wear it with pride, eh?
I just had a heart attack basically right now, but anyway.
So Ray, just to jump into it. So, I mean, just take us through. I mean, you're a journalist, have been a journalist, but obviously done a lot of work within our industry. Maybe, just take us through Ray Mahlaka as a journalist, and then the journalist within the property industry and the work you've covered and so forth, and how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me. I must say that it only dawned on me recently that, my goodness, I've been a journalist for about 10 years. Yeah. I first walked into a newsroom back in 2009. Okay. I did not walk into an environment of business, property, or economics. In fact, it was an environment of general news at the Citizen newspaper.
Yeah.
So that's where I got my first big break. I was a legal and court reporter. So what that means is you report on everything to do with our justice system, whether it's courts, whether it's crime. I covered mostly crime, in fact. So that's where I got my big break out of journalism. But I just didn't have the stomach for reporting on crime, because most of the time you go to crime scenes as a journalist, you observe, really bad crime scenes, and usually journalists are the first ones to arrive on the scene, than cops and forensic and pathology services. So you really see a crime scene, blood, guts spilled everywhere, basically. So and I remember the tipping point for me was that there was a car accident in Eldorado Park, I think, and it was kids. It was a vehicle transporting kids, so primary school kids. They got into an accident in a truck, if memory serves, and unfortunately there were fatalities in that accident, and a lot of kids died there. And as journalists, when you get to a crime scene, I mean, I literally saw everything. I saw body parts, blood, and all of that. Young kids and, school shoes thrown around, bags also thrown around, around the accident scene. So I just thought, oh my goodness, I don't have the stomach to do this and the heart to do this. So about 2 years of doing it, I just decided, you know what, I need to reinvent myself and try other areas of journalism. Then I went into what we call trade magazines. So these are magazines where they're distributed largely for corporate clients, you know, and one of the trade magazines I worked for was TFM magazine, which writes a lot about BE policy and how inclusive our BE policies have been since the early 2000s. But really my big break was at MoneyWeb, where that's where my property career started to take off. And I was at MoneyWeb for about, I think, 7 years or so. And that's where I started to focus on the real estate sector and really getting an understanding about the real estate sector. Who are the role players? I mean, it's such a broad sector, that is. And there's so many areas within real estate that one can really dig your teeth in. So yeah, that's my journey over the past 10 years. I'm currently a daily maverick right now. Unfortunately, I'm not as plugged in anymore into the real estate sector, but I do observe what's happening and various trends in the real estate sector. But I largely focus on the mess in South Africa about politics, state-owned enterprises, state capture, you know, and all of that, basically.
Lovely. Yeah. So did you cover particular areas within the industry, or did you just have a blanket, just went everywhere, wherever the news were, or whatever's interesting at the time?
So it was everything, but at MoneyWeb, I must say, my bias was towards JSE-listed REITs, or real estate investment trusts, that is, because MoneyWeb focuses a lot about personal finance, wealth generation, and how you can use certain asset classes, such as property, to generate wealth. So I covered everything. I covered the retail sector, the office sector, industrial sector, and new sectors that have emerged as well, you know, over the past, I'd say 5 years. You're talking about REITs that are focused on storage, hotel accommodation, and I also I focused also on the residential sector as well. I enjoy residential sector because it's something that I think most people can relate to and interact with on a daily basis as well. Whereas, you know, to talk about the mechanics of shopping centers, office space, industrial properties, you know, only a particular set of people can actually interact with those classes of property. But you know, residential, people rent, people own, you know, and there's a broader understanding of how that asset class works in a particular way.
Okay, so would you say that somebody that you know has to do journalism in this sector would have to maybe take courses? Is it advisable to maybe? Do you think you should have maybe invested maybe in some learnings, or you know it was easier to just learn as you go? You know, for somebody who would want to jump in. So you know, what would you advise for that?
Yeah, well, as I said, you know, my journey into property was unconventional. I mean, started in farm, found myself in property somewhere. But I don't come from a property related background. I don't come from a business, finance, or economics background. I had to do the hard learning on the job, asking stupid questions, relying on the generosity of many real estate professionals like yourself, for example. You know, to explain the most, you know, complicated terms such as, you know, what is a loan to value, for example? What does that mean? You know, what are distributions, or what people call dividends generally, you know, across many sectors. So I'm not afraid to ask stupid questions, first of all. I'm not afraid to say I don't know. And I must say, there are certain people who helped me out along the way. And I was saddened this week with the passing of, you know, Mark Wayner from Redefined Property.
What a soldier.
Really a real estate legend, to be honest. You know, a guy who had no ego. He really enjoyed speaking to people and offering his insights as well about the real estate sector. But I mean, just about Mark, I remember having to cover my first Redefined Properties results presentation. Bear in mind, I don't know how a company works. I don't know what to look out for. I don't know how, you know, what is the business model of real estate, companies, how they generate their income and all of that. But I remember asking Mark Wayner the most stupid and most basic questions ever. And he had the patience to explain these things to me and sat me down and said,
this is what you remember what it was?
Yes, I do. So he was very obsessed about, again, debt levels within REITs as well. Again, going back to the loan to value. I mean, loan to value for your audience is basically a company's debt position relative to its assets, and that's calculated as a percentage term. And it shows also how the liquidity of a company. Does it have enough cash resources, for example, to pay back debt? So Mark really sat me down and explained all of these things. But I mean, to be a journalist, I don't think you should study journalism. In fact, study something that is much more focused to your interests. One of my biggest regrets was studying journalism, in fact, a BA in journalism, because I would have rather preferred studying something linked to finance, economics. It would have put me in a much better position right now. A, to understand what I write about from an early point, and B, to make me as competitive as I am as a journalist. And C, to be able to have conversations with, professionals like you, Teko, as well, without having to ask you those questions. What do you mean? What do you mean by saying,
So speaking of which, so how's the industry or how's the market looking? Or maybe just describe for us, how's the market looking in terms of journalism within the property space? Is there enough work to go around for journalists within the space, covering different? Is there enough publications? Do even people consume a lot of this content? So maybe just explain to us on what does it look like currently, or what it has been historically.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't have good news, Teko, because there are. I mean, I can count only like 6 property journalists in the country, six, which is crazy. Whereas if you look at markets like the US and broader Europe, newsrooms have like a team of 10 real estate writers. The US alone probably has more than 200 property journalists. That is. But what is that a reflection of in South Africa at the moment? Well, newsrooms are shrinking. Newsrooms are going through financial problems of their own. The model in which newsrooms generate their revenue from advertising, I think it's slowly dying. So if you take away that form of revenue generation, which is still a large portion of how newsrooms generate their money. If you take away advertising, basically, newsrooms are in trouble, big trouble. So the need for specialist journalists or journalists that focus on particular sectors, unfortunately, it's dying. Journalists moving away from the real estate sector, I'm guilty of it, I've done it. Moving away from the real estate sector to pursue other interests, areas of interest to write about, that's happening at a fast pace. And if journalists move away from real estate, it means that the numbers are getting thinner and thinner. That 6 journalists I talked about earlier on, journalists that I can count on, who are real estate writers, dedicated real estate writers, that number is going to shrink in the next few years. So what's going to happen is that you're not going to have journalists that focus exclusively on the real estate sector. Why are property journalists important? Well, COVID-19 has actually shown us that some areas are very important. And I think property journalism is important because a lot of people are going to default to their mortgages, unfortunately. A lot of people are going to ask, shopping center landlords. I don't see how they're going to survive this COVID-19 crisis because, non-essential tenants such as clothing, what else, Teko? Is clothing, restaurants?
Restaurants.
So
I think only the big retailers are actually in business right now. All the smaller retailers are just
I can't imagine. And throughout all of this crisis, shopping center landlords are losing a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you need during this crisis, you need journalists to really tell these kind of stories, to really explain what's going to happen to the real estate sector going forward, what's going to happen to the broader economy. The minute people default in their home loans, you know, the level of home ownership in South Africa, which is really not that great, because I think the base of people in the housing market are largely renting rather than owning
properties. Yeah.
You know, if people default on their loans, it means that fewer people are going to be homeowners. Yeah. So during this crisis point, you need journalists to actually explain these things and actually, you know, inform the public about how to survive this crisis period. Yeah. So that's really concerning for me. I find that very concerning.
I find that very concerning too, because obviously if the number of journalists that are covering the property sector declining, means even the quality of the content is not going to be that great. So everybody's just going to fall behind, and we're just not going to catch up with what we're supposed to catch up with. So yeah, well, look, it is what it is. But I mean, so just coming back now, time is not really a friend of us. So just coming, so now let's just go back to being the award-winning journalist.
Oh God.
That you don't want to talk about. But I mean, how did that, let's just go through, I mean, we have to talk about it, you know, to the viewers who would be watching this. I mean, they have to know you. I think if I'm not mistaken, I watched you 2016, 2015, 2016, sorry, 2015, 2017, I think 2018, 2019, every single year, just collecting that award. And I mean, it's a big thing, you know, I mean, for you, maybe it's not a big thing because it's what you do and you don't want to put yourself out there. But I mean, it really is a big thing to be winning those awards year and year. And, you know, so just take us through that, you know, how did you actually get to win the award and what does it mean to you? And what has it done for your career?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I apologize to your viewers if you hear a bit of vacuuming. I'm so sorry that, you know, there's someone cleaning basically in my house. So unfortunately, we are here. This is the new ways of working, and there's going to be
the new world order. Yeah.
So apologies to your viewers. Yeah. But let's share the award-winning, you know, award burden here. You also won some awards, Teko, eh?
Yeah, but you know, I'm the interviewer here. We're talking about journalism today, so can we just stick to journalism?
I see my attempt at deflecting failed spectacularly.
No, it's not going to work, not today. So, so yeah, let's jump in.
You know, awards are nice. They, you know, they acknowledge the work that you do. You know, they sort of, they sort of confirm that you're going along the right path, and that people appreciate, you know, the kind of work that you do. Because I do a lot of writing as a journalist, and I do focus on a lot of stories. Sometimes I think nobody reads my articles. You know, my mother is the only person who reads my articles. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But when you get journalism awards, that kind of cements, you know, and reinforces your view that, oh my gosh, you know, people are actually taking notice of the work that I do. So it's very humbling, but I don't do it for the awards. You know, an award. Yeah, true. But you know, an award is an added nice benefit. But I don't think I set out to be a journalist 10 years ago to win awards. You know, but yeah, I'm not going to say that I don't like awards, or that, you know, awards sort of, you know, I don't appreciate them at all. I do. But the title award-winning journalist makes me a bit nervous.
But I mean, you did win awards. So what were those awards about? What is the title?
There's an organization. Yeah, for your viewers, there's an organization called SAPOA, the South African Property Owners Association. They're like an industry body, basically, for you know, the real estate sector. And every year they have journalism award, an award event, basically, recognizing the contribution that property journalists are making into the real estate sector. So many of the awards I won was about me being a property news journalist of the year, or property feature journalist of the year, and even being a runner-up as well, which you know, it's. I mean, I always say that for me, I don't want to always be the best. I just want to be counted as among the best. And I've got really great industry colleagues who are amazing at what they do. I mean, just to name them, there's Joan Muller from the Financial Mail, who is an institution, by the way, in the real estate sector. There's Alistair Anderson, you know, at Business Day. There's Glenda Williams at FinWeek, you know, and Tony Corsten as well. There's so many journalists as well. But for me to be counted as among the best among those individuals, I mean, for me, it's a humbling experience, I must say.
Yeah. No, beautiful. No, great. So just in closing, Ray, you know, if there's any people that want to get into this industry, people that maybe are between writing and also being passionate about this industry, what advice would you give to them on how to go in, how to navigate through the challenges and so forth?
Well, I'd say, first of all, align yourself to people who have knowledge.
Yeah.
As I said, my sounding board was Mark Wayner, and so many other individuals as well beyond Mark Wayner. If you don't come from a background of business, economics, or, you know, I mean, journalists are sometimes even forced to be accountants, even though they haven't really studied, you know, accounting at all. So I would say align yourself to somebody who knows more, and is willing to give their time as well to really be patient with you and explain how the industry works. Read a lot. Most of my time was spent on reading annual reports from cover to cover, because annual reports give you quite a fascinating insight about business, its financial position, where it wants to be, where it's going, and the people behind a company as well. And I guess just be inquisitive as well, I must say. So for me, COVID-19 is really fascinating for me. Some people think there's going to be a lot of opportunities created beyond COVID-19 in the real estate sector. So we're talking about, you know, co-working spaces in the office sector. I mean, I think the death of the office and the traditional office is imminent. Here's you and I working from home and having this discussion via technology. So what's that going to mean for the traditional office sector, which already has its own problems anyway before COVID-19?
Exactly.
So just let the mind wander. Think about these things, you know, and the world in which you live in. And it's the built environment. You can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it, you can interact with it. It's not like you're writing about mining, which is far removed from where you probably are. So real estate is exciting, man, and I just hope more people can get into it.
Indeed, 100%. Thank you so much, man. I really learned a lot about you and the industry and journalism in particular. Just as a parting shot, Ray, so do you mentor any people right now? Any kids coming up? Any students? Are you mentoring any people? And if not, are you opening to mentoring any people coming up?
I am. So what I used to do at MoneyWeb is that every year there would be an intake of interns. And these are, you know, recent graduates at university, and they'll be placed in the newsroom. So there'd be one or two in which, you know, I mean, it's quite nerve-wracking for them to go into newsroom straight from university. They don't know what to do, what to expect. So I used to do that. Right now it's a bit difficult because where I am at the Daily Maverick, there is an internship program, a formal one, which takes interns basically under their wing and train them. So the need for me to really mentor has been redundant currently where I am at Daily Maverick. But you know, I'm always open to mentoring if it means we're going to improve the journalism industry and improve standards and the quality of journalism. What do I have to lose? I'd be actually open to it, but I'm disappointed right now that I'm actually not doing enough of it. I would like to, though.
Yeah, no, we'll put some people your way. So yeah,
please, no pressure.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Ray, man. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for chatting to us.
Thanks, Toko. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ray.